Today, we will answer all the questions around synthetic uses. I will present it in a minute. And we're choosing slightly a different way of present it, because this idea is so new, and even for us, it was so much fun. We selected a little bit of funny way of present this idea. As a techie, I love to talk about the how. Obviously, we all know, always start with the why. Today, we will combine those things. Because it's brand new, because it's innovation, because it's new technology, today I am in the happy position to even talk about the how and the why. And to start, I will ask some of my colleagues to come on stage. So in the first 20 minutes, we won't show any slides. We will show you the innovation physically. Please. We're doing that one for the first time, so if there are any mistakes on the stage, you will forgive us. Thanks a lot. Let's assume I'm selling oranges. I have an online shop, and I want to sell this orange online. So what do I have to do? Obviously, everybody is aware about online marketing. So I do some, Google advertising, maybe some LinkedIn advertising. And at the end, if everything works fine, I have 9 visitors on my website. And what I have to do with my visitor, the first question to these visitors is, who is coming from a Google campaign? Thank you very much. Who is coming from a LinkedIn campaign? Thank you very much. And now the question is, obviously, as we are all aware about, everybody is coming from a Google campaign. Everybody is coming from a LinkedIn campaign. You guys do have an ID with you. Is that right? Perfect. It worked really cool. So, I want to introduce you guys. Michael, step forward. Michael, by the way, is the CTO of the company, and he even influenced the idea very, very much. So we know Michael is the CTO since January. He's at the company since around 1 year. So we know Michael very, very well. What does that mean? 900 is a person-related data, because I know that this one is connected to Michael. Thank you, Michael. The next question, and we are all aware about that one, and we all hate this question, but we have to ask this question. Who is giving consent? And that's the real situation we have out there. So we know that if we have a same weighted deny button, we have around 30%. These guys are giving consent to work with the data, to track the data, maybe to do some remarketing. But we have a lot of guys now on my website, and again, I want to sell this one orange, who either didn't give him any consent, or like Michael, for example, he just didn't interact with the consent bar. Maybe the consent bar was blocked by an ad block or whatever. So I have around 70% where I do not have any consent. What is the current situation? What I do today, without any innovation, I just care about these 3 guys. So I start talking with them, I'm tracking the data, and then I do some marketing, and I try to sell the orange to these 3 guys. For me, that was not enough. I want to talk with these guys as well. So what we are doing, or what is the consequence, we are not allowed to track those guys who do not give consent. That's why that's why the internal name of this show was Striptease. So let's care about the 3 guys we do have consent. We have the data, we have very good data with server-side tracking, we have a good quality, we have a good quantity. So we are allowed not just to track the data, we are allowed to learn from this data. That's so important. First-party data does not mean just to track it, but even to learn about it. That means we are building clusters in the consent traffic. No. That was a tracking issue. We need a developer on stage, please. We need a bug fix.
Sorry.
Do you need some help? That was the unstripped version. So, to be able to create those segments, these clusters, that means we need really good data quality. With shit quality, with shit data, we cannot build very good segments. And based on these segments, the innovation will happen. So we have to track, for example, a very good e-commerce data, very good content data, very, very good search data. Every time when some of you guys are searching on my website, I really want to know what was the search term, what was the result of this search. So tracking and good data quality is required. And we're not just collecting, or we're not just generating the segments, but we are even searching for the predictors. Predictors are those KPIs or those matrix and dimensions where we are based on building these segments. So it could be, for example, the browser, it could be the date time, the date, whatever. 6, 7, 8 predictors are necessary that we can build these segments. And now the first really critical step, which was quite new, and it was a legal question. These predictors, we are allowed to track in the non-consent traffic as well. And I will ask Peter to come on stage and explain us why and how it is possible that we track these predictors, these 6, 7, 8 metrics, even in the non-consent traffic. That's a legal question, and therefore I'm asking the expert to explain it. Maybe a short introduction about yourself, it would help.
Yeah, that's fine.
Peter Hense, Spirit Legal. You're helping us a lot in legal question at JENTIS, and you guys are writing the legal memorandums. We are even sharing with you guys.
Thank you for the introduction. I'm not going to bore you with details, but the stuff that we are talking about right now with the predictors, it's basically nothing else but statistics. So you need some statistical data from the data that is already there, for instance, in your log files or somewhere else. We're talking about like a downstream later stage processing where the CJEU says ePrivacy does not apply. This is exclusively and merely subject to GPPR. So if you just take a set of 6, 7, 8, 9 values, very generic ones, to be honest, and then do some magic on that, that's basically still statistics, and it is full within the scope of legitimate interest assessment, so that the legal basis of 6(1)(f, the legitimate interests, the overriding legitimate interests apply here. So you can do that and continue there because it's, as far as I have seen, the least invasive way to do something with data that is available on the market. But it's still working. I have no idea how, but that's like your job to know how.
Thank you very much. Applause, please, for Peter. What does that mean? So we know now the predictors, we know the metrics we are searching for to build these segments A, B, A. And because we're allowed to track these predictors, even the non-consent traffic, we can even make the segmentation there. And that's the magic trick. Nice. So now we have every user which was on my website, or which is on my website. By the way, it is near real time, everything what we're talking here about. Every user which is on my website, I have now connected to one of these segments, A or B. So what we do now is that we are pooling the ideas. So gentlemen and the others, I'm asking you now to get your IDs to one of these two pools, A or B, based on the segments we are already calculated. Thank you very much. So we have now a pool with all the IDs from segment A and a pool with all the IDs from segment B. What does it mean now? I have no idea which person, which visitor of these 9 guys is connected with 662. That means for us, this is not a personal data anymore. This is an anonymous data. So we have now 2 pools with non-personal IDs, but we know which IDs are connected to segment A and which IDs are connected to segment B. The second step, what we are doing, and I told you already, that for these 3 guys, we are allowed to track the data. So we know exactly what is the behavior, what are the properties, what are the sessions, and what are the transactions. And what we're doing now is, with a simple sampling from right, in your direction, from left to right, we say, okay, we are calculating, we extrapolate the data from this direction to this direction. So we have, on the non-consent traffic users, the next step is that we are generating synthetic users. What is a synthetic user? As a synthetic user is a user which is not existing in the real world. It's a new form of a user, but with properties, sessions, and transactions in the full picture within the segment, which is the same picture as the user which are existing in the real life, in the real world. So we have now on stage 9 visitors, 3 real visitors, 6 synthetic visitors, and we are building the synthetic users in kind of a way that with server-side tracking, we can use these synthetic users even for the analytic systems, but, and even more important, for the advertising systems. So we are able to activate even the synthetic users. How? I will explain in a minute. So let's assume we have a transaction. And by the way, still, I want to sell this 1 orange. My question to you guys is, who wants to buy this 1 orange? Nice. What is the price? Perfect. So, what is my goal now? I have LinkedIn on the stage. I have now Google on the stage. And obviously, I want to communicate back to those 2 systems what happened on my page. So what I'm doing right now is I'm selecting randomly 1 Google ID and 1 LinkedIn ID. And by the way, I have no idea if these IDs are connected to her or not. But what I know is she is coming from the segment B, and I have still this pool of IDs from the segment B. So I can choose now 1 LinkedIn and 1 Google ID to share it with these advertising networks. So I should not switch it. Thank you very much. And once again, very important, if I'm communicating with LinkedIn, again, and because that's so important, I have no idea which of these persons is connected with this ID. But that's not that important for LinkedIn. For LinkedIn, it's important to understand that this ID is coming from the pool B, that we have a user in a very good segmentation from the pool B who converted. And very, very nice is, and I guess nobody will remember, even if she's not coming from LinkedIn, I can share a LinkedIn ID. That's a very, very good side story for this new innovation. Peter, once again, I want to ask you to come on stage and to tell us more in legal language why this is possible that we are sharing IDs now with these 2 guys, Google and LinkedIn.
Because they are not IDs anymore. I forgot to mention that. We once dissolved any association with real or other users. It's just a name, a number, a value for a segment. So whatever is going to either Google or LinkedIn, it's just an indicator that something basically happened, but Google doesn't know. LinkedIn doesn't know. That's the beauty of the story. So we don't have any Schrems 2 issues. It's not personal data. It's not even pseudonymized data. It is basically just saying there is something happening in the segment, and the only guys who know what the segment is, what it means, even like what is the event that is being signaled, could be anything at all. This is basically you as the operator of the website or of the app. So it's your first-party data and your first-party info, and nobody else knows what it actually means.
Thanks a lot. So let's summarize. I sold my orange. I know who bought it, not in person, but I know the segment who bought it. And I can communicate now to Google and to LinkedIn, please bring me more visitors like the B visitors. And obviously, let's assume it was not one orange, it was 10,000 orange, it was not one B buyer, it are 7,000 B buyers. So that is exactly the communication what we want. We want that we are generating on LinkedIn and generating on the Google side the same picture of segment as we are generated on our side. Thank you very much. That was the first part. Give me an applause for all these actors on the stage, please. We don't have any glasses on stage. So, that was the how. And now, obviously, we would not talk that much about this new innovation if we would not have any results I can share with you and I won't share with you guys. So, first of all, what is the status quo of this project? And what is the plan? Where do we want to go? And what is the timeline for this project? Status quo is that we are still focusing on one problem. The question is, do I have a same weighted deny button in my consent bar? Yes or no? Question to you guys. Who is using a consent management platform for your website? Who is using a same weighted deny button on this consent management platform? Who's worrying about the consent rate regarding a same weighted deny button on the platform? Thanks God this works. So yes, that's exactly one issue. We are focusing, especially for the future, in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, at least in the next 18 months. If you are changing your consent bar in a way that you have the same weighted deny button, what will happen? And we see that often at our customers, but even there are so many white papers out there, everybody's invited to read it. There are so many experiences out there. What happens if I change the CMB? Obviously, you have a drop in data, and the drop sometimes is 70%. So you really go down to 40%, 30% of data you can track. That is exactly what I showed a minute ago. That is a big issue in industry. Obviously, we have other issues, third-party cookies. We know that. Many people talking about that one. But that is an issue we have to solve in 12 months. Therefore, we are caring now for the solution. What is the roadmap for this project? So I told you more or less 8 months ago, we had this first idea, and then we start talking about with experts, with AdWords experts, with legal experts. And the first idea, and we always thought about, could that really work? I mean, very important, how good the segments are we are building based on these predictors. We had this first legal check with Peter and Spirit Legal in February this year. We had this first mathematical checks with some experts from AI and machine learning in March this year. And today, obviously, for the first time, we're presenting these results. The results based on simulation. So what we're doing is we're taking some data we have, and then we are asking the mathematic guys to generate these synthetic users and then compare it with really tracked, measured data. And these results I will show in a minute. What is the plan for the future? We're searching for pilot projects. So we're searching for customers, for real data, for real campaigns, for real online marketing to test what we are generating, what we are doing on the mathematics side. And the final product should be ready at the end of the year, so should be ready for delivering after this year. And now that is, I think, the most important and most interesting part of this presentation. What are the results? There is one number which is so important, how similar the synthetic users can be with the real users without tracking them. So first of all, what we have is a legal memorandum. Everything what Peter, in a very, very short time, explained today, it is written with legal language, with references to all the other laws. We have that written, and we are absolutely happy to share it with you. If you rewrite now the memorandum, then we have to talk about that one. This was one of the first results. So everything starts with finding these clusters. And there is one example I want to share with you. We took data from 1 month. I'm not allowed to share with which customer we did that one. We had around 500,000 sessions in this example. We found 23 clusters, and the non-consent rate was 68%. So this customer already had a very, very high non-consent rate, close to 70%. This was something very, very, very interesting for us, and this was a game changer. Because, first of all, we said, okay, there's a lot of effort to do some new technology, to have a new approach, so maybe we just could extrapolate all the data from the consent side to the non-consent side. Maybe this works. It does not. The reason is that the probability of the segments is totally different. I mean, if you see, for example, I'm not sure if you can read it, but there is a very, very high probability for the segment 7 in the non-consent traffic, and a very low probability for the segment 7 in the consent traffic. That means consent user and non-consent user, the behavior, the properties, the sessions, the transactions are totally different. You cannot extrapolate from one side to the other. Other example for that one is, we have here the platforms, Windows, Linux, Macintosh, and so on. And it is again the probability of the users to join or to come in from such a platform. And if you see, green is the consent traffic, red is the non-consent traffic. We have totally different probabilities in these two different types of traffic. So it's not going to work to extrapolate from consent user to non-consent user. The next slide was a game changer for us. When we did it with the segmentation in the middle, generating the synthetic users, how I showed it now 5 minutes ago, we came to this result. And this means blue are the synthetic users and orange are the real users. And you see that the probability is very similar. That means with the segmentation in the middle, for the first time, we can calculate, we can sample, is the word for it, from the consent, segment A, to non-consent, segment A. And the comparison is very, very important. So if you do this consent extrapolation without segmentation, then we come to the result that the users, the new users, are 42% similar as the real users. With the segmentation, and what was the most important numbers in the project, we came to the result of 91%. That means the new synthetic users are as similar as the real users at 91%. In other words, the new robot, the new synthetic users are really, really, really similar to the users we didn't track. We are not allowed to track, but we are allowed to track again these predictors and then making this imputation, this sampling from the one side to the other. What does this really mean? I mean, yes, okay, we can do that now. The mathematic check is done, legal check is done. We are allowed to do, we can do it. Very, very important point. We do not need third-party cookies for this technology. So this is, in our point of view, the preparation whenever Google will kill the third-party cookies. We do not need to transfer personal-related data to the US. No problem with Schrems 2, no problem with Schrems 3. And we do not need any more dark pattern on our CMPs. We can really ask the user, do you give me the consent? Yes, then I will do some segmentation with your data. Do you don't give me the consent? Fine. Then I will generate synthetic users, which is replacing your user. And last but not least, think about with this ID pooling, we can activate even the synthetic users. It's not just an analytics case. It's the online marketing case. We can do marketing. We can let the Googles and the LinkedIns learn from this data without sending person-related data, without using third-party cookies, and without using dark patterns. Some thank yous. I mean, it's nothing what a company like JENTIS can do just on our own. So very important, Peter Hense, Tilman Hebrich, the legal experts, they helped us very, very lot with all these legal questions. Christian Ebernickel, and he's in the room, please maybe you can stand up for a minute. He's helping us, and give him an applause, please. He's helping us. If we cannot send this data to AdWords, I mean, what are we doing? That is so important that we even have an idea, how can we activate this data? And Philip Gersing, he's not in the room. He's the genius of mathematics who built all the models for us in the background. Raiffeisen Bank International, we cannot do that without customers. And we are searching for new pilot projects. We're searching for new customers who want to be first mover. The Raiffeisen Bank International was one of these first movers who works with us at this project. And obviously, the whole team of JENTIS, I mean, without server-side tracking, without all the stuff we did in the last 3 years, we would not be able to do something like synthetic users. What's next? We ask for pilot projects. I mean, I'm repeating myself, sorry for that, but that's very, very important. So if you have a cool website, a cool project, if you want to be a first mover, if you want to be innovative, go to gentis.com/call-for-pilots. That's a short registration. Tell us what is the project. Tell us why you are a first mover. And we would love to go with you the next step in the second half of this year to find out not just, activation in AdWords, but there is so much room. Activation, other advertising system, affiliate systems. We want to learn how to use this new technology in the right way. And maybe you guys are the right one to go with us this journey. My name is Thomas Stachner. I would love if you follow me on LinkedIn, and if you have any further questions, you can ask them now, or you can write me on LinkedIn. I always love talking about new technology, especially about synthetic users. Now, I'm asking Nina to come on stage, you are not on stage, you are in the audience. Okay, so open for questions. I mean, there can be so many questions. I'm happy that we have at least one hand.
Yes, all right. I do have a question, Thomas. I'm coming. But my main question, before I ask any other questions or let anyone ask a question, is this all in your brain? Did this all happen in November in your brain? And
sometimes.
Do you want to sit down or keep standing?
Keep standing. It's all fine.
Because maybe I need to sit down. Was it all in your brain?
Yes, on brain.
You alone?
No, obviously not. I told you that so many guys, even in the audience, Christian Ebernickel and Michael, for example, the CTO I introduced. So it's teamwork, always.
Crazy. Ricardo, you had a question.
Yes, so my question is, can you say something about the required data volume for this to work, or for example, for a pilot project?
Yes, the pilot project was about 1 month and 500,000 sessions. I think that most of you guys are aware about the longer the duration for the data collection is, the less accurate the result will be, especially in machine learning algorithms and in this modeling. So high traffic projects is king. We are working very, very, very hard to downsize the requirements to around 100,000 sessions per month. That is possible. It's about to, you have to beat the random result. I mean, 91%, that's absolutely mind-blowing. And I got this number 3 days ago, and I really asked this guy, are you really, 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 really sure about 91%? I mean, even if we are losing accuracy here and going to 60%, that would even help, because you're not, just do not forget, without this technology, you're just not activate the 60% of the users. So currently, we are around 500,000 sessions per month. I guess there are a lot of customers who can use this technology right now, and we're working for downsizing the requirements.
Thank you.
I didn't see. Was there any other hand in the air yet? Yes, over there.
I wonder if you have any data flow diagram which can be shared just to help folks like me to really understand the structure, the feature, because honestly, I somehow lost.
Okay, I asked the colleagues again to the stage. No, just joking. That's a hard question. Maybe we should take that one offline and discuss it later. At the end, it's about building segments. I mean, this is the critical point. How can you build segments and how good the segments are? Because if the segments are not, really representing the groups of people who are on your page, then this imputation, this calculation from consent to non-consent will just fail. I mean, you will get groups always, but these groups just won't perform. Just if you have a good segmentation at the first step in the consent traffic, and this segmentation represents really the groups on your site, then you can make this calculation of the properties of the session of the transaction. At the end, you can imagine you won't see any difference if this is a synthetic user or a real user. So with server-side tracking, you're always sending user data, sessions, page views, events, whatever, product views. Obviously, you can track it in a custom dimension if it was a real user or a synthetic user. But if you would not track it, this fact, if it was a synthetic user or a real user, you don't see any different, neither in Google Analytics, nor in AdWords, nor in Facebook, nor in LinkedIn.
Yeah, I would be interested in knowing how you connect with LinkedIn and Google data.
With the click IDs. So we are collecting the click IDs, we are collecting all the IDs we're getting, first-party IDs. So if somebody is coming from a LinkedIn campaign, then they always have click IDs transporting, or IDs, even as long as third-party cookies existing. Obviously, we are reading third-party cookies and we are getting IDs from Criteo, for example. So there are IDs with the users coming to your website. The question is, how do you send the IDs back? And that is the big problem, because sending an ID back, if I send her ID back to Google Analytics, and it's her personal ID in a one-to-one connection, then it's person-related. Means I'm fully in the case of Schrems 2. I'm fully in all the problems I have if I do not have the consent. So it's all about, we have the IDs, that's not the problem. You have the IDs, that's not the problem. The problem, how to transport the IDs to those guys who are doing the advertising for us, which is Google, Criteo, AdForm, LinkedIn.
So, Thomas, does that mean you're just replacing a real user with a user that you synthetically built, and then this is just a user shell where you apply all of the characteristics for a segment, and you still give them the idea of this one user where we don't have any personalized data, and that's why it's data compliant?
Yes, and it's very important that the single user is not 90% similar to the synthetic users. I mean, then we would be in the same problem. But the picture of the segment is so similar to the picture of the segment in the consent area. So that is the magic. So that I would say, to send a picture to AdWords of more users at the end of one day, if you send 4,000 IDs, then the picture which is generated behind the AdWords wall is the same as the picture we found on our website, which is, for example, in the simple example, segment B. So we're not sending one single IDs to AdWords anymore.
Thomas, just because for you it's so obvious, but I think the missing link here is server-side tracking, how the data flows. I think if you just can explain how the data is collected and sent, that may complete the picture.
I'm happy to do so. So server-side tracking, basically we're collecting data in the browser as everybody else is doing it. But instead of sending the data from the browser to Google, to LinkedIn, to AdForm, we're sending the data to a server which is existing in the middle between the user and between Google. And because we are in this middle position with server-side tracking, at this position, in near real time, we can do this calculation, we can do this enrichment with, mixing these IDs, pulling these IDs, and from this server, from in the middle, then we are sending all these data streams to Google, to LinkedIn, and so on. So it's not anything what we're doing in the browser anymore, because here we have all these legal risks and we have even technology risks, but we're doing it from a server in the middle. That's server-side tracking.
Questions?
I'm so happy that you have questions, guys.
Honestly, I was seeing the presentation the first time. I was totally lying about my NDA. I was never included in any of the information before. Apparently, I'm not that good of a secret keeper. But I do have like a ton of questions from just listening. So don't be shy.
Well, we have one question here.
Yes.
Hi. Amazing performance, by the way.
Thank you.
And my question would be, correct me if I'm wrong, is synthetic user is a good alternative to Google Analytics for audiences in the future, because they also use machine learning and these prediction probabilities and so on?
Yes, very good question. Thank you for that. I would not say that's an alternative, because the result at the end of the line are audiences as well. The only difference is, how do we build the audience? So what we're doing now is we're sending all this one-to-one data to Google, and then they are building the audience based on the data I provided. What we're doing now is I pull the way of getting information out of the data to me, to my responsibility. And by the way, that is exactly what I think. What does it mean being responsible for first-party data? It does not mean to track more data and then say that's first-party data. It means to pull out information. I'm responsible for this information and then provide information to Google. At the end, I have still audience. I will be there in the audience manager. I mean, that's the way how you are controlling the advertising, but it's not based on data I send, it's based on information I send.
A question in the front. 1 second.
Yeah.
There's something I'd like to add to your question. You get much more flexibility if you don't let Google build your audiences, but you do it on your own. Because what we have seen here is that the data is not just sent to Google Ads, but also to LinkedIn. And this is what you could not have done with just building audiences in Google Analytics. So it is much more flexible. You can do much more with this approach, and it's up to you with which ad networks you'd like to share your data with. Thank you.
Would you like, maybe if you are also answering questions, to just join us? I do have a microphone for you.
Sorry that I might have misunderstood something, but aren't you poisoning Google profiles and LinkedIn profiles by using some Google or LinkedIn ID from your synthetic user going into a real person's profile?
Poisoning is a hard word, but I would agree. Yes, it's kind of blurring. I mean, that's exactly one strategy of not sending a one-to-one ID from one person. It's about blurring, yes. And what we are monitoring, I mean, it's not working if we send 5 IDs from synthetic users. Then the algorithm on the other side thinks, okay, these were 5 randomly users and everything fine. But if we send, let's say, 1,000 or 2,000 IDs from the segment B, then the algorithm starts changing the behavior on the other side and starts making advertising for the segment B and not for one person anymore. That is, in my point of view, that is the important change. So you could say it's poisoning the algorithm. We say we are putting more data to the algorithm, but we're allowed to do it with not just the 30% of the consent users.
Thank you.
So you mentioned 90% accuracy, which I would translate in my world as true positives. Do you have true negatives? What would be the rate here? And can the influence of the profile probably in your business make people unhappy because you send them wrong eye catchers or something like this?
Yes, I mean, that was for us important to understand this 90%, to say, okay, what is the alternative? The alternative is not to communicate with the 70% of users who are not giving the consent. And the alternative was to extrapolate from the non-consent to the consent. I mean, that was exactly, by the way how we started, because so many colleagues and customers always, I have to say, annoyed me to say, come on, Thomas, can we extrapolate from non-consent to consent? And I always explained, no, that's not working because the base data are not the right one. You need references in a mathematical way to do so. So to have the comparison, what this 90% means, we said, okay, nevertheless, let's do it. Let's do the extrapolation from non-consent to consent. And here we are on 40%. I would never go to my online marketing system with 40%. I mean, that's random. So I would say you need at least 60%. You have to beat the random results. So if you would do it randomly, then you can measure what is the result. And then it's just business. If the costs are smaller than the output, because based on synthetic users, then you are in the winning zone. Okay, I would say around 65%.
Okay, I was asking because we also do try in trials to introduce synthetic users instead of patients. And if we miss things,
we always miss things. So I'm an analytics guy, I'm a tracking guy, so I'm always missing things. That's the nature of myself. But what we do not do, and I want to be totally open with you guys, so we have not the fully activation in an AdWords account in an A/B test. That's very complicated, and Christian can talk about that one, how to separate, two AdWords accounts with very similar configurations. What we did is the simulation, and what we did is to try it in AdWords accounts, not in an A/B variant. But that is the reason why I don't want to show the AdWords results today, because, again, I'm an analytics guy. If I have not a real A/B test, that's not real numbers for me.
All right.
Any more questions?
Yes. I'm the marketing gal. Hey, do you have a question? No. I'm the
yeah, there's a
all right. Gotta be quick because I still have a ton of questions.
So to catch up on the poisoning, or let's say blurring a question. So do I get it right? So we had the 3 persons. We know about the 3 persons. Let's call them Chris, Alex, Sandra. And somebody's buying your orange from the anonymous group. And then you pick randomly an ID of the known persons out of this segment? Or?
No, we are pooling the IDs of all persons, of all visitors. So even the 3 where we know who they are, and the 6 where we do not know who they are. So at the end, if you would just, everybody has 1 ID, let's say, then at the end you have 9 IDs in this pool, some of them in the A, some of them in the B. So we are collecting, we're selecting randomly 1 ID of this pool. Obviously, there are so many configurations. So it could be that the configuration is in the consent traffic, I want to still doing, this one-on-one marketing, and I'm just make this ID pooling in a non-consent traffic. That's everything what we want to find out, how these things are working in this pilot project. So many configurations for me are possible, but the technology can do that all. So we can make the separation to handle consent traffic differently to non-consent traffic. We can say, okay, regarding to Schrems 2, we want to pool all the IDs because we do not want to send any IDs to the US. So even with server-side tracking, it's possible to say for AdForm, which is a European tool, I don't want to make ID pooling, but for Google, for example, I want to make ID pooling. So that is why it's so great for me, because we have this possibility of very detailed configuration on that.
And so it's really crucial that the segment is big enough so you don't, I don't know, blur out, or let's say you always pick Sandra's number and Google thinks, oh, Sandra really loves oranges, and her internet is full of orange advertising.
Yes, the segments must be big enough. From the point of view of the legal guys, I mean, if you have a segment with 2 guys, then even legal would say, oh, that's not really randomly picked. And even from the technology point of view, you need enough data, you need enough user, you need enough IDs that this modeling makes sense, yes. And one point I want to add is this, maybe you can explain it better than me, but it's even important that it's not the same remarketing than we did 10 years ago. I mean, if you make ID pooling and then you make, very strict one-on-one remarketing campaigns, maybe it's not the best result at the end. So we have even to learn how to deal with this ID pooling. We have to learn how to deal with this more blurry IDs. But at the end, I fundamentally believe that the result will be better than what we're doing now, just with 30%.
Thank you. Pretty cool invention, by the way.
Thank you.
So for the dummies over here, I can do remarketing for the black synthetic anonymous users.
From the point of technology, I mean, you can configure AdWords to do so. If it makes sense, that's another question, because it's not him. If I want to make remarketing, I want to connect him, I want to communicate with him, as far as I understood remarketing in the last 10 years. So I think we have to rethink the concept of remarketing a little bit. But yes, it's about to recommunicate, reconnect users, not in a one-on-one situation, but in a, let's say, segment group situation.
Yeah, you look like you had something to add here.
What I had to add was just for your question, I want to explain how the ID pooling works. So, but I don't know if you're still interested, I can add to that. But, yeah, okay. So the pools we create are linked to the segmentation that has been created beforehand, and this means we are not really picking IDs randomly from the full pool, but we have sub-pools linked to the segments, to the segmentation, and we are currently discussing or looking deeper into it if there are measures we can apply on the pool or the mechanism how we pull IDs from the pool to get even better quality. But this is currently under discussion because we don't want to interfere with the segmentation. So this is something also to be discussed with the mathematicians.
All right, we have a question over there. Mike is coming.
Would this work completely without consent, without the colored users?
No.
Clear-cut case.
That would be genius.
Yeah, that would be really magic.
It's for next year.
For next version, you always need room for improvement, right? No, seriously, if you have 0% consent rate, then you do not have anything where you can learn. Even that is something where we work hard to downsize, to say, okay, it is possible to do it with 20%, with 18%, with 15% of the user. I mean, even machine learning algorithms, it's nothing what we are doing what we did 10 years ago. So there is even an improvement, and they are improved today in mind-blowing way what you can do with machine learning. But you need always a group of users who give consent. So there is always even the room for how to get the consent in the future. I mean, today we get it for free. I'm not sure if this is the future. We are going to that we get always the consent for free. But at least if you say, okay, you start, giving some goodies for consent, then with this technology, you have to offer the goodies to 30% and not to 100%. Just repeat it, that the online users are getting the question.
Probably you don't need your own consent pool, but you could buy such segmentation groups from vendors who create such pools.
The future will show. So now we are on the very early stage with this technology. I do believe that will be the standard in 5 years. So if there is a standard out there and you can share segments, I mean, there are a lot of legal questions coming with that idea, but maybe, yes, who knows?
All right. I heard if someone asks for the price, you already made your sales pitch. So Thomas, how much does it cost me?
We have no idea. We have absolutely no idea, because I want to be totally open with you. We want to do the pilots with you, and we want to see what is really the result, what is the value we can generate with it. So when we talk about pricing, first of all, I want to know the value.
Same answer I got a few years ago, huh? All right. Any other questions from the audience before we close this round? It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance. This is groundbreaking. No? All right. Any last key words for the audience from the two of you?
You want to start?
Thank you. I just feel really excited that I had the chance to help here and to work on that topic, because it's not that often that you have the feeling that you might be working on something that could be a little bit greater and could evolve over the time. So it was really a pleasure working with the colleagues from JENTIS and also from Spirit Legal, and I really enjoyed that.
My last words, hopefully just for today, would be just do it. I mean, we're talking so much about problems, and we're talking about so much, small improvements. Do it 2% better, do it 3% better. And here we have really the chance with the technology out of Austria, out of Europe, to have a 10x improvement. I mean, the technology is working. We are on a very, very good journey that we can prove it even with activation of data. And I just want to invite you all. Doesn't matter if you're a techie guy, if you're marketing, if you're legal guys. I mean, we need all the help we can get to bring this technology from this room out to the world, and to do, again, great marketing, but fully compliant. So everybody's invited to contact me, to contact the JENTIS guys, to contact Peter Hense, Christian, whoever, to join, the journey and to help.
All right. Woo.